Hi. Yeah, I'm at the professor's. Oh, you should see it. Full of stuff. Wonderful old stuff. Yeah, he's letting me use it to work up an outline for the class. Well, it looks like fun, but we'll see. Call me later here, okay? Okay, bye-bye. So, question. What is history? Well, it's not the past itself. It's got to be some record of the past. Something left behind that tells us about the past. History is a record of the past. Okay, here it says that history is just the memory of things said and done. Oh, but you can't always count on memory. I mean, memories can get awfully foggy and vague. Like, Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a grouping of mammoth stones in southern England. But why it was built, and who built it, and how it was built, remains something of a mystery. We don't really know why or who or how. I know people down through the centuries have had a lot of theories.
Dancing giants turned to stone.
Erected by Merlin the wizard. By magic.
A Roman temple.
No. It's a temple for those ancient priests who lived on this island so long ago. Those they called the Druids.
And on those stones, they lay their victims out and raise their knives of bronze.
Yeah, a lot of old theories, but maybe today's historians know more about Stonehenge. They say it was built in 3 stages over thousands of years. Well, they think the local farmers built it, probably as a place of worship and as a way to mark the course of the sun. Oh, they think probably so many guesses. So much we still don't know. I wish I could get the story from someone who was there.
Each stone was hewn from, dragged across the plain by chosen men who worked for us. To get them upright, we used enormous, and in this way finally settled the huge cross pieces into place. High platforms, and that is the story of Stonehenge.
That's not a story, that's just bits of a story. A voice fading in and out, dying away. So much of what went on at Stonehenge must have just been forgotten. And now it's mostly mystery. There must be voices all over the world that are fading away, telling about the past, and then fading away.
Dia mencoba lambat kamarci, nak kena ngai ngalendi kamarci ka ngai ka walu mati kunola. Kalau nyano kalau pernah lihat ngai dan nyano, amen lagi. Piklah ka boleh berjalan. Kayak aku mah. Kau boleh tu? Bek, oh begitu.
voices fading away. History and stories, and when the old stories are no longer told, when there's no one to hear them, the past vanishes. Vanishes. Now, if they just could have written it down. But this tablet has writing on it, writing from Crete, ancient Crete, and no one's found out how to read it. Whatever it says has been a secret for almost 4,000 years.
No, your people have not been quite clever enough to figure out our early writing, have they? Well, never mind. You have been clever in other ways. Clever enough to find our palaces, buried beneath thousands of years of rubble. And we of Crete have left behind some of our most beautiful things for you to puzzle over. I understand that you are unable to decide if these are bees or wasps. And so you don't know if we had honey to sweeten our lives. It seems perfectly clear to me. Well, you have found the paintings on our palace walls, and they can tell you a great deal. You are reminded that we were an island people, close to the things of the sea. You know that we raised cattle. See here? The calves are being taken to sacrifice. At festivals, we had bull leaping. Ah, those sinuous young people. Such risks. See there, the young girl grabs the bull's horns, leaps over the bull's back, and somersaults right to the floor. You can learn from what is not there, too, you know. Or had you never thought of that? You'll find no pictures of warriors in Crete, no weapons in the tombs. You might conclude that our civilization was not built on war. You might conclude that. Our early writing could make that clear. But then until you learn to read it, you'll never be sure, will you?
Yeah, well, don't rub it in. We can't know everything. History is never a complete record. And we didn't know anything at all about those people until, 1870, something like that. For all those centuries in between, their history was hidden. We didn't know a thing except for the old tales, the myths.
We Greeks had heard the myths about Crete, Crete and the Minotaur, body of man, head of bull. And we had heard the other myths of Greece, of Bronze Age heroes who sailed these waters and walked our land, and of mythic cities and warrior kings. For 3,000 years, the tales were told on our mountaintops and sung in our ancient stone theaters. We Greeks thought these myths were no more than tales to make us proud of our past. And then, about 100 years ago, a circle of graves was found. Graves of those warrior kings, and of others even more ancient. They had lived. So myth became history, and our shadowy warriors became real again. Stone to flesh. Poetry to breath.
So sometimes history is found again, in bits and pieces. Scraps. And so many kinds of scraps. Clay, ink, typed, printed, photographed, even sewn. Sewn. Sewn history, a tapestry. The Bayeux Tapestry tells the story of Norman Duke William invading England from France in 1066, the Norman Conquest. That must be William in the middle.
Yes, here Duke William orders boats to be built. And I am his brother, Bishop Odo, right beside him, do you see? Oh, yes. I was right beside him every step of his adventure. We were young then, fearing little, setting off to conquer England. Imagine. And a few years later, just how many years I shall not say, I had it all sewn onto that strip of linen 230 feet long. But now some have tried to say that it was Matilda's needle made the thing. Matilda, wife to William. But that is nonsense. I had it made. I, Bishop Odo, from my own knowledge and my own memories. Matilda. Well, we were young then. Now I am old. My hair is white. My cloak has faded. My memories have faded as well. But never mind. It's all there. There, on the linen. Readying the ships for the crossing. We brought weapons and wine aboard. See the knight's armor there, being carried aboard? Very heavy. All that chain. And nearly 700 horses. The crossing was not too rough, and a good thing, too. 700 seasick horses is not a thing to contemplate with joy. Well, they all got ashore. We sent men to see what food they could take from those wretched English farmyards. Pigs, cows. And I bless the food, of course. Now, some may question why I had that sort of detail included. Well, I selected what I thought was interesting. And so the day arrived. The 14th of October in the year of our Lord 1066. William led his army into the Battle of Hastings. Not so many as the English, but many all the same. Poor fellows. Still, William survived, and so did I. England was safe in Norman hands. The little fellows, shown at the bottom there, well, they were not so important in the long run of things, of course, so you can see that they were shown much smaller than the knights. Still, they did die well for God and Normandy.
He says they died well. So why weren't they important enough to be as big as other men? Well, the big men told that story. And whoever tells a story has a lot to do with how it's told. History is someone's point of view. So, history is selective. Selective. Oh, terrific. They can leave out whatever they want to, and they put in just what they think is important and interesting. Well, history has to be seen from someone's point of view. And point of view, I guess, depends on where you stand.
Well, I can tell you where we stood, there on the decks of the ships in the glorious age of discovery. We set sail from the ports of Europe on giant carracks and caravels, crossing weeks of deep green sea. We stood on the edge of a strange new world. As we came to those shores, we saw beasts never before imagined, trees and flowers more exotic than those in dreams. Now, the natives were exotic as well, some naked in feathers, some smothered in robes. Some were always dancing, while others seemed fond of bathing. Their food, their speech, all strange. From place to place, it was a matter of wonder that men could live thus. I dare say we made a lasting impression. Our stature, our elegance, the correctness of our ways.
Ah, yes, they made a lasting impression. Not the impression they thought they made, but lasting, yes. This is how we saw them when they landed in Japan in 1543. Big noses and comical pants. Such an awkward height. So tall. And oh, how they smelled.
And this is how we saw them when they landed in Africa. Frightened ghosts, covered with cloth and leather, though our land is a warm land. They seemed short to us.
So where you grow up can make a difference in what you see, and that can change the way you pass on history. And I always had such a romantic image of those explorers. A lot of romantic images in history, though. A lot of distorted images. I wonder if distorted images really do anyone any harm.
Do they do any harm, these images? What about the story of the Western movement here in America? You've seen the movies. A stagecoach full of white people, suddenly attacked by Indians who are just howling shadows. No names, no real beings. That's how white men told the story of the struggle for the West. The story of one people's invasion of another people's homeland. Well, the white men won that struggle, and they wrote the histories, they made the movies. But the wheel turns. however slowly. Indians are writing histories now. Some of us are teaching history, and a few of us are even making movies.
The following scene typifies Hollywood's approach to Indian culture. The supposed Sioux chief's hairdo is simulated mohawk. His shawl is woman's dress. Men never wore them. The dead boy's beard seems Mexican, as do his clothes. The mask appears to be northeastern spirit mask, but they were never used on the dead. And the idea of dragging a dead boy miles for revenge is repugnant to the Sioux people. Their way was to quickly return a dead body to Mother Earth. The language is a kind of Lakota. We asked a Sioux translator to translate the scene. In reality, he said, the words don't go together, but this is what they mean.
It's the big chief of the whole Sioux nation.
What did he want?
Ashichu. Akuyashni.
He wants justice.
Wanachante. Atawana washichu. Lehea. Hoitansha. Geapi.
He says he may die of grief. However, he wants no blood of ours. We may go unharmed. But this is his son, and he can't bury him until the boy sees the man who murdered him killed.
Our children's children will see the other side of this story. The wheel turns.
So movies have given us a funny sort of history. It is history, I guess, because they give us ideas about the past. But they sure play around with the facts. Maybe no one really means to lie. I guess there have been conscious lies in history, though. Like, what was the truth about Teddy Roosevelt in Cuba in 1898? I know lots of reporters covered that war.
Read it to me. Colonel Roosevelt and his men struggled up Kettle Hill.
Doesn't sound too heroic, does it? Won't sell a whole lot of newspapers.
We could say charged. Colonel Roosevelt and his men charged up Kettle Hill.
That's better. But that Kettle Hill sounds too American, doesn't it? Too back home, sort of. Let's give the readers a little Caribbean flavor. Let's say they charged up San Juan Hill instead of Kettle Hill.
But the black unit took San Juan Hill.
Who'll know the difference? Sounds better. Yeah. Colonel Roosevelt led his men on a charge up San Juan Hill. Pretty good, huh? Now, if we can just have them charging up that hill on horseback, we can call them the Rough Riders.
But they couldn't bring their horses.
You don't say.
Talk about distorted images. And that image became history. Colonel Roosevelt leading his men in a charge up San Juan Hill. I wonder if that image had anything to do with Roosevelt becoming president. I bet it did. History may be false or misleading. I wonder about distorted images today. What they'll mean to tomorrow's history. Hello? Yeah, I just finished. It's about history, about what history is. I was just wondering what the history of us will be. You know, it could be anything. Whatever it is, it'll be bits and pieces. It'll take a lot of different forms. It'll be from someone's point of view, sometimes distorted by power or by culture or by self-interest. Some of it's going to be misleading, and some of it'll even be lies. Whatever it is, it'll be the only way people in the future will know about us. What do you suppose they'll think of us?
With a jab of his sequined glove, Michael Jackson opened the
The president announced the invasion of the island of Grenada by U.S. Marines.
The big story this year is pink. Pink from leather pants to teddy bears.
Has announced that the U.S. is preparing to deploy 758 nuclear-armed cruise missiles.
The Candyman for poisoning his 8-year-old son was the 5th inmate put to death in 1984.
Rondale has chosen Geraldine Ferraro as his running mate. The first time in U.S. history.
He's done it. Carl Lewis has done it. He's matched the record of the legendary Jess